Well, I am at the National Tropical Botanical Garden, and it's part of the Garden Time tour to Kauai. And I'm with Mike. And Mike, what is this area that you're in charge of?
The Conservation and Horticultural Center.
And so why is that so important to the whole world, really?
So in my work here at NTBG, I serve as the garden's curator. And one of my focuses in that position is with the native plant collection. NTBG has been deeply involved in native Hawaiian plant conservation since the 1970s, a very long time. And our native plant collection is really important because it is a repository for genetics of rare native Hawaiian plants.
Wow, so really it's not just beautiful, you really do a lot of science here too.
We do a lot of science. We, in our living collections database, maintain detailed information as to all of the collections that come in. So it helps guide us on where to make additional collections to have good genetic representation of some of the rare species.
So do you trade with other places in the Pacific Islands? Or?
We have working agreements with a lot of other botanical gardens throughout the Pacific, as well as right here in Hawaii. And then we also collaborate with the State Division of Forestry and Wildlife and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service.
Wow, so I know that we were talking to another scientist and he said, like, say there's something catastrophic and something is destroyed, you can almost go back and replant those plants.
Yeah, as part of the Hawaii strategy for plant conservation, there are a number of protocols were detailed. And so maintaining ex situ collections by way of live plants in our collections is one strategy. And then also maintaining, when possible, seeds in our seed bank is another part of the strategy. We're learning a lot about how Hawaiian seeds are stored, because not a lot of information has existed up until now, so it's an ongoing research project as well.
Yeah, it's so interesting because there's all these little plants and then this beautiful collection. When you come over to the McBryde Gardens, you see them really in their natural state.
Yeah, we, in particular in the native section, we've been spending the last 10 years planting the native section in to try and recreate natural habitat, so that when we bring in the rare elements, they're more likely to thrive as opposed to having them grow all on their own. No forest exists all by itself.
Right. Well, that is so interesting. It's only one part of all these gardens here. So now we're going to go over to the McBryde Gardens and find out more information there. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Well, now I'm in the McBryde Garden. I'm with Eric. And Eric, what is your title here?
I am horticulture manager of the South Shore Gardens here on Kauai.
And so South Shore really encompasses more than just the McBryde.
You bet. It's 3 gardens: our visitor center garden, our Allerton Garden, and the McBryde Garden.
Wow, you do a lot.
I do a lot.
And so when people come here, what is like your favorite place to show them that's so interesting and close to your heart?
The Biodiversity Trail is super cool, and it takes people on a real-life walk through 450 million years of plant evolution, which is pretty epic.
Yeah, we got to go through that, and really the interpretive material is so interesting, and you get to see all of these like really prehistoric plants that were here way before humans.
Exactly. We have a lot of living fossils that we're really proud of, and new plants as well.
And then also you have a native area, the canoe garden area, and so what is that?
Well, actually that's kind of 2 separate parts. We have the native garden, which were plants that were here before any visitors, plants that found their way across the ocean or across the air and became native plants. And then canoe garden plants are 27 specific plants the Polynesians brought with them.
Ah, and
so
what were some of those?
Sweet potatoes, kava, breadfruit, taro.
Really, something to sustain them because they were coming to a place they didn't know.
Exactly, so they had to pack their supplies and had the foresight to see what they would need for future generations.
And I know you were saying that this is kind of a research place, but you're kind of melding it into more information than just research.
McBryde started specifically as a research garden, plants that botanists and taxonomists would look at, and like a living collection. My goal is to kind of share that with the public, so it's not just for scientists, that everyone can have an appreciation for plants and fall in love with what we do and be excited about that.
It is really so interesting here, and like the signage is great, you know, just walking around and looking at all the plants. But there's one more garden to go to. We're going to go to the Allerton Garden next. Thanks so much.
Cheers.
Well, now we're in the Allerton Garden, which is a third of this area's gardens, and I'm with Bob, who is our tour guide, and you really showed us around this huge property that is the Allerton Garden. So maybe just a brief kind of history. So the Allertons got it maybe in the 30s?
Yes, the property was purchased in 1937. John Greg Allerton said that when he and Robert first saw the property, they were dumbstruck, and they began creating their second great garden. This Allerton Garden is held in trust in perpetuity by Chase Bank. It's got an endowment that keeps 6 full-time gardeners.
Wow.
And this garden is known as a beautiful landscape garden.
So that's what you really want to take away, because there's all these different rooms with different plants. So really around every corner there's different plants. I noticed that there's tall palms, and what are some other beautiful plants that we saw today?
Well, one of the most beautiful plants we saw today was a plant called Freya Nydia Multiflora from the Philippines. It flowers briefly in the springtime. Beautiful triangular flowers that are kind of salmon colored.
And why is it so special, this garden here?
It's famous for hidden garden rooms. You go around a corner and you're surprised with another garden room. And Robert and John love the sound of water trickling, so they designed it so nearly wherever you are find yourself in the garden, you hear the pleasant sound of trickling.
That is nice. And you know, it was a really sunny, warm day, but there were so many shady areas, so you really didn't feel the heat at all. I think that's what's so nice when you're coming to visit this too.
Yeah, people generally don't need any sunscreen here. There's a lot of, this is a very mature garden with tall canopy trees and usually cool, pleasant place to visit.
It is. So if you want more information about the Allerton Garden, the McBryde Garden, or the research area, please go to gardentime.tv. We'll click you right over to that website. We also have it up on the screen. It's just a beautiful place to visit when you're here in Kauai. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure taking you through the garden.
Oh, thanks.